Okay, so these are the poems from the second half of 2020, the longest year on record. The shape of reality. What clay spinning like the human brain, a useless lump, until brought to form by an intelligent hand. Reality is a vessel that isn't, unless it holds water or the memory of being held, like the dregs in a used filter. Life doesn't exist at the molecular level, and sometimes it's not reified until you're digging a grave to contain it. Reaching out to God in the dark and being slipped a knife blade first. Hold your fire. Heroic gesture, charitably chaste and blessed, conveniently kissed by fragile flames before catastrophic consumption. Craft, made mature enough to brew an ocean, steeping steam and foam. Omen, wise one born on the wing when all the land was lit and nowhere to alight. Mission, hold your fire close to your chi, cooling in the kiln of creation. Hurting, morose, melancholic embers of memory, reality forcibly wrenched from reason, fate's fractured change, forged formed, healing a singular sadness. Artful and impenetrable, like a third eye made of glass. So we really should read healing a singular sadness, artful and impenetrable, like a third eye made of glass. The shape of hate. Celestially smooth and round as the eye in orbit, substantial, weighted enough to damage bone or tissue, and small as a heart in an open palm, or a fist, like glass that's been smashed to dangerous shards and melted down to formlessness, as if fire could erase, memory could erase pain, a false inoculation from ignorance. Indifference. Not sure if it concerns me personally. Virtue is virtue, as is the washload of depravity. Some who kill are innocent, like individual atoms in nuclear explosions, and silent as the second S in asshole. If my poker face was still water, God or devil could see their own unblemished stares and choose Coke or Pepsi in blind taste tests. I pass your polygraphs because I understand that the absolute value of lie is truth, playing the theme song of my soul on an unstrung harp. Good. Do you need a blindfold, or can you be trusted to close your eyes and hold out your hands? Now tell me if you're holding a good or the good. A good will be warm and round, like a freshly poured coffee handed to you with a genuine smile. Breathing in the rising steam and salivating before raising the cup, the comfort of satiety. The good is soft and furry and squirming like a puppy, curling lovingly into your arms before leaping and licking your face until you belly laugh and tickle from your chin all the way to your soul. A good versus the good, you know. Flying. When you fly in your dreams, do you hold your arms out like Superman or grip the hem of your cape making bat wings? Do you fly solo at the controls of a jet, zooming cross country, or hover over your town as friends and acquaintances point accusing fingers at you in all your balloonishness? That sounds terrible. As your friends and acquaintances point accusing fingers at you in all your balloonness. And regardless how disconcerting it can be alone and untethered, rising helplessly where the sun can melt your wings and the air is hard to swallow, is there anything worse than waking up on the ground? There's an error on that page. I'm going to have to correct that. Death of ice. His was the death of ice. Searching for a murder weapon was vanity. The cold case was destiny. A frost or freeze could bring substance to killing form, like a jealous heart weeping crystals. But the hate, once sated like hunger, might never again approach that desire to breach the absolute zero of love, muted like the mine or the subtle sky on a winter pond, too meek to show your face. His was the death of ice. I love that. Waiting for lucky. You'd be lucky if I killed you in a book and took your secret to the grave, he told me, for beyond our wants are needs that can't be masked by strong medicine, and your death story may be better than your history, and mystery may yet provide eternal life, when innocence is but a model, and science hasn't the precision to measure or the wisdom to abandon your reasonable doubt. Yeah, you might be lucky. You might be lucky. Alexander Library, circa 1980. Spent an awful lot of time at Alexander Library and all the different places around Rutgers College in the 1980s and beyond. Before computers, we read books in steel cages, lining the vault-like walls of university libraries, humming fluorescent tubes and fluttering eyelids, bane of the note-taker, pen-ripping paper in the groove of distracted scrimshaw, carved by generations of the bored and deviant, whose pressing concern was whether the pub would still be open after this chapter ended. Google carved initials today. All you find are fonts. And what fun is that? You Google carved initials. You won't get anything about sitting at a desk that generations of people have carved their names into and curses and penises and all kind of shit. Creation. A place like here, a time like now, minus an eon or a minute, God grabbed gooey globs of good in one hand, evil the other, and they kneaded that amalgam like dough, like clay, like the rule of law, and they set it in a shell baking in the sun. It was soil, it was soul, it was life, then it was human, then it was woman, it was a nation, then it was war. Whatever you do, some animal or machine does it better, except for hate, which is perfect gravity. Only a human would drive themselves crazy, trying to see through their own eyes, blind spot, staring down infinity. We both know they're full of shit, but we need origin stories because we perceive who, what, where, when, and how with ever finer focus, while Wily Y wanders unaccompanied and corruptible. How would you like to be remembered with a statue waiting to be torn down, with your face on money that can't buy the book where your name appears in boldface and asterisk, or with a holiday on the calendar somewhere between Grand Dog's Day and the Day of the Dead? Yeah, I had a little trouble remembering what I was saying. While Wily Y. That's pretty silly, you know, Wily Y. That old Wily Y. Obligations. Crooning the sweetest death song, opposing good to evil, a false comparison, like selfies in a mirror, knowing hatred and love, the antithesis of indifference, as the saying tarries the balance. Predators helpless at birth, nursing the twin talents of prejudice and righteousness. Who's to blame when bees drown in honey, when spiders get stuck in their own webs, when the snarky rat running the third rail flips you off, and after you miss your connection and a meeting that could have changed everything? No excuses. God would never mock you, but Boo is merciless when you stumble negotiating unfamiliar territory, feeling the fool, tripping on a curb, staring at the GPS on a walking tour to find the world's best coffee, quote. No signs direct you to hell, but there's a subtle slope like a landscape yielding to the sea. In cultural deserts, figurative camels see mirages when sand isn't stinging their eyes shut, like the pages of the book you read yourself to sleep. Some say all learning is remembering, even the skill of remembering to forget. It's hard to paint within the lines using watercolors or blood. Your teacher says just remember PEMDAS, and you're afraid to ask what a PEMDA is without sounding like, what's Aleppo? Gains are logarithmic, while loss is exponential, unless it's your ass. Sometimes it's barely enough to remember paper covers rock in a critical exchange. Everybody makes a mistake, but there's no excuse to be stupid. You know, if I was the Beastie Boys, I'd say it like that. But there's no excuse to be stupid. Against. Rusted rakes and hoes, long rotted handles lean against the shed wall. Splinters of light poking through warped slats arouse drifting dust motes. Calloused hands used to work pressing trousers. A suit worn but one. That was an autocorrect that screwed me up. Calloused hands used to work pressing trousers. Let me start that again. Against. Rusted rakes and hoes, long rotted handles lean against the shed wall. Splinters of light poking through warped slats arouse drifting dust motes. Calloused hands used to work, pressing trousers. A suit worn but once, familiar pine box built for this day. Between me and the moon. You know, I have to say, it may not sound like it, but I've been trying hard for a while now not to insult anybody or stir things up. And that may sound silly coming from me because, you know, I always sound like I don't give a shit. But I'm tired of not wanting to offend people. So this is really me trying to be true to my art, you know. I just have to be true to my art. Between me and the moon, gassing up in Magaville, thunder on a cloudless day is but the booms of freedom from artillery practice at the base down the road, rippling black coffee in my cup holder as I shift into drive and head from no place to nowhere. Driving straight down a faded line until the only sign of life is roadkill. Eventually the pavement ends and the burnished death throes of the sun yielding to night. Nothing remains between me and the moon but gravity, and I'm not even sure of that anymore. When I wake, my bullet-addled brain is possessed of the devil, and my shoeless soles are glazed in dewy mist hanging off the bed of a beaten-down pickup truck. Had I any words left in my dented, leaking skull, I doubt they would pass my spitting, sand-encrusted trap. That's pretty much sums up 2020. Goddamn sure.